County Pulse Podcast. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The County Pulse. Now let's get this thing started.
So we're here today, Brian, and welcome to the County Pulse Podcast.
Thank you.
Today we have with us Brian Hassett, former Bishop McNamara player, right?
Yes, sir.
I went to St. Joe's in Rensselaer.
Yep.
And then ultimately ended up being a coach at Prairie Central. I had a stint at Streeter, and now you're at
El Paso-Gridley.
Paso-Gridley. So that's the last part that I didn't get, but
That's all right.
We're excited, and welcome to the County Pulse
Well,
Podcast.
thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on. And I drove up from Fairbury and got my dad here to the left, and just super excited about this. This will be my second podcast, and I did one with Paul Garcia, who's a Prairie Central grad, and I know you watched it, and it was a great experience for me.
Well, and for you, that's kind of in your wheelhouse, right? Prairie Central.
Yes. Yes.
And probably being there, right there. I think it was maybe at your place. And so getting that was probably really good. And I really enjoyed it and enjoyed the fact that Paul could really ask some great questions. We're going to try to do the same thing and maybe be as good as Paul. He's a good young guy, it seems like, and doing a great job. So we really enjoy it. So I'm kind of jumping in. We've got your dad, Bob, here,
Yep.
Which I'm honored to have. I'm honored to meet him because I've always thought a lot of you, Brian.
Thank you.
Bishop Mac, and watched you come to Bishop Mac and play Bishop Mac, and when you're at Prairie Central.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter where you go, brother, you're still a local guy, Bradley Lions guy, right?
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about, if you can, we're going to jump right in. Let's talk a little bit about, can you tell us a bit of kind of where you grew up at and how your upbringing shaped, your love for sports, in particular football?
Yeah, we grew up in Bradley on Prairie Street, literally 6 blocks from BBC HS and Bishop Mac. Went to Bradley Central, played Bradley Lions football, played Bourbonnais Little League, played basketball, played all 3 sports in junior high and then in high school. So, it was interesting. My sister graduated from Bradley Bourbonnais in 1980, and then my brother and I chose to go to McNamara after that.
Okay. Yeah, you're kind of a split family like us. My daughter also went to Bishop Mac, was also a softball player, went on to play Division I softball, so we're blessed that. The 2 younger ones decided to go. My middle one then went and did modeling. I traveled with her around the world a little bit.
Right.
And then my youngest one's playing, he went to, we said Bishop Mac or Bradley. A lot of his friends went to Bradley,
Yeah.
So he went there. So we're kind of the same way. We have arguments when we're playing. Bradley's playing Bishop Mac. Who are we going to root for? So
Yeah.
I'm a Bradley guy. You're a Mac guy, but I did spend some time at Bradley or at Mac. So it's one of those things that I love both schools. I think they do great things. And but I can tell you, I was a big fan of Bishop Mac when I was there.
Yeah.
A guy that you know very well, and we'll get into later. Rich Zanane was very good to me. I was sick at the time. My daughter was playing basketball and softball, and he had came in pretty weak, wanted to be there. Pulled out a chair for me, said, "Don't go any further. You're sitting right here by the court." So
He's a good man.
he is a good man.
We'll get it. We'll talk a lot about Rich today.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, from your early days, in I call it Pop Warner. People call it Pop Warner, but basically to high school. What other sports did you play? That besides that, did you play any other sports? Baseball, basketball?
Yeah, I played 4 years of basketball, football, and baseball at Bishop Mac. And then I went and played college football at St. Joe. And then I also played college baseball all 4 years there, too. So I was a 2-sport athlete in college and had a great experience doing both.
So and this isn't on the list, and I'm not trying to jam you up, but having a daughter and a son that played college sports, how did you manage the basketball or the football and the baseball? How did you manage that?
It was tough. My first 2 years, it'd be 5 a.m. workouts for football, go to class, go to baseball in the afternoon, finish up with my studies afterwards.
Yeah.
After the first 2 years, my junior year, I didn't have to play spring ball. I was kind of penciled in as a starter going into my senior year, and then pretty much concentrating on baseball that spring. And then the fall, we had a nice we had a real nice offense and we won some games. But then my senior year, I just focused on baseball. Did my student teaching at Wolcott County High School. So it was time consuming.
Yeah.
I will say this: I have ADHD. I've had it since I was a little kid, and I kind of always think about, man, I was sure like just go be a student in college. Well, I don't think I would have made it.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have made it. And then also my wife was also attending St. Joseph's College at the time, so kind of kept me in wraps there too.
Yeah,
so,
right. We've got that with our youngest. His girlfriend's staying this week with us.
Yeah.
And we're telling her to keep track of them. Now, let me ask you again. This is not a question.
All right.
For my edification. Freshman year, for us, both for my oldest one, wanted to come home. She's all the way out in Rhode Island. It was a tough year for her. Academic-wise, my son, I said he's living his best life in fall.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was chasing women and drinking beer. I said, you got to go to class. What was your freshman year?
My first day on campus, we ended up having a time in the mile, and we had to do some other things. And man, about 7 days in, I called mom and dad. I said, man, I don't know if this is for me. I did not prepare to do that.
Yeah.
I said, I'm a good athlete. I'll just step in and I'll be fine. Then, weeks were the scout team and trying to learn the offense, it was a complex offense. We ran the West Coast offense. It took me literally 2 years to figure out. So about mid-semester, I had like a 0.9 grade point average, and the coaches brought it in. And they go, hey, what are you doing? And they go, you're doing nothing. So you better get your act together. So I ended up finishing with like a 2.85, and I think that was probably my lowest GPA for my 4 years.
Freshman year when the bumpers are off, right? And you're away from home, mom and dad are saying, get up, get to school. It makes it a little bit different, right? It's like, well, hey, you got the bumpers off, you're a big boy now, but now you've got to make sure you do certain things.
For sure.
Always a tough year. So I'm always interested in asking that question.
Yeah. And then second semester got better because I had more accountability. Yeah. I had to be there at 5 a.m. I had to go to class. I had to go to baseball. Then I had to make sure I had my grades intact so I could, keep my scholarship because, I wouldn't have gone to school if we didn't have that, scholarship probably.
Right. No, that's what we do here at the podcast. We work with a lot of young kids because mom and dad wish they had deep pockets, but they're hardworking folks, and you try to do the best you can do with them, right? And so anytime you go to school, maybe get some scholarship money,
right?
Always helps mom and dad, and I'm excited about that. And that kind of leads me to my next question, which is reflecting on your high school career at Bishop Mac, in particular football, right?
Yeah.
And in my questions, and you maybe haven't even looked through this, maybe you have, found an article about you guys, I think, winning a state championship. And having a 99-yard touchdown pass to Kevin Cassidy.
Yeah, we had a touchdown drive at 99 yards.
99 yards, right. I'm sorry, not pass,
all right.
Drive, right?
Oh, I remember it.
And so tell me, share some memorable moments about being at Bishop Mac.
Yeah.
The guys you play with, which is always important.
Right.
But we have to recognize, and it's always an honor to talk about Rich Denani, right? I mean, you can say whatever you want about a lot of high school coaches in Illinois, but Rich Denani really is the man, right? I mean, he's the guy that just seemed that in the 80s and stuff in particular, boom, just a machine, right? So talk a little bit about some of your most memorable moments from Bishop Mac and playing football there.
Yeah, my freshman year was 1982, and I go as a freshman, and I was a freshman quarterback. I never played quarterback in my life. It's one of those things that I wanted to try. We had a real nice team. And so that year, Mike Van Mill, Mike O'Connor, Timmy Highland, Jim Buck, and his brother, cousin. Anyway, they won state championships in 1982, and we had a nice group of guys around us too. Kevin, Dave Gelino, Darren Zananti, Bob Bedell, Tony Prince. So you think, man, this is where we want to be in 3 years. We want to keep building the rich tradition, and we had a bump in the road my sophomore year, and in junior year we went 7-2, didn't make playoffs, didn't have enough wins back then. And then we went undefeated my senior year. So it was a great experience in whole, not just football, but we made state in baseball my senior year. And then my brother's team got second in the state, his senior year in '89.
Yeah.
So it was just a great experience. I got great friends from then. Kevin and Kurt Cassidy, two of my best friends, the two best receivers I've ever played with other than Rodney Lewis, which was a college teammate of mine. And they went to Northern Illinois. So, a lot of really good friends and connections and networking in coaching. Like Joel Palisart, for example, was on that 85 team. They won 85, 86, and 7. He's the offensive coordinator, Lincoln Way East. There's a couple other people I'll talk a little bit later about these, when we come to the question, but, just an awesome experience under great mentors, because there's mentors that we'll discuss here in a little bit, but Rich is obviously one of them.
Rich is one of them. I know Coach Rooney is one of them, right?
Coach Roney, absolutely, Jack Roney.
Jack Roney, I was there, and he was the guy that he was my PE coach.
Yeah.
So PE was a lot of fun with him.
Oh yeah.
He had a smart and brain, right? He was really smart,
very intelligent.
but he had history blowing us away with stuff, asking questions. Get this right, you do this. Get this,
Yeah.
But it was always a lot of fun with him, and I have memorable times, even though I wasn't there the full 4 years. So now, tell me a little bit about your positions that you played at Bishop Mac.
I just played quarterback.
Just quarterback, okay.
Played a little dab. I caught punts one game, and then Kevin and Kurt took over. So that's about it. Yep.
Stay in your lane. Right?
Didn't play any defense.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that as a quarterback coming in, and then in particular mentioning that you're undefeated your senior year.
Yeah.
Like that's no joke, right? That's something that a lot of teams aren't able to do. If they are, and I think sometimes people forget, you see a lot of these schools that are just powerhouses these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially those Catholic schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're always tough. The Mount Carmels of the world, right? All those guys. Talk a little bit about being a quarterback. Were you guys what conference were you in at that time?
We weren't in a conference then.
Okay.
We're independent. So we did a lot of traveling and played a lot of the parochial schools, Providence Catholic, Bermuda Central Catholic, Otto Marquette. They had the All City, Bradley Bourbonnais, and the Kankakee High at the time. Yeah. So, but it was, we had a tough schedule.
Yeah.
Going into my senior year, we had a real nice athletic junior class. Eddie Thomas, I saw your notes on Eddie Thomas. He was a freshman at the time.
Yeah.
Him and Eugene Edmond shared carries in the backfield, especially in the playoffs. So it's the only undefeated Bishop McNamara team. I coached there in 91 through 98. We had some really good ball clubs. Okay. Kind of razzed them about, hey, this is the greatest team ever in Bishop McNamara 1985. And then we didn't have all the athletes and the talent per se, but we had a great defense led by Darren Zanani, Bob Bedell, Billy Robinson, Mike Zuculo, Brian White. I can keep going names. Kevin and Kurt Cassidy, and then offensively we had two really good running backs, two really good fullbacks, and then two Division I wide receivers. Dave Gelino, my tight end, went to North Central and played there for a year. So, man, it was a very talented class and a bunch of really great guys.
Well, and to highlight this, and sometimes it's tough getting these information, but I try to do a little research.
Yeah.
So let's go back to November 3rd, 1985, the day of the state championship, right?
Somewhere on there,
Yep. So I printed out, I took the article from, it's actually from the Chicago Tribune, believe it or not. They covered us down here, so that's always an important thing.
Yep.
Right? And so let's talk a little bit about that game, right? You had, if the numbers serve me correctly here, I think they said the story would be about you because of the number of yards you passed and everything else.
Yeah.
But you had a young running back talk a little bit about the running back, and then let's talk about that game and what you did. I know this is kind of a little bit off the beaten path.
That's all right.
But I think these are really important things, especially as we get older. Kind of remind us of the good things we did in our life, right?
Yeah. Eddie Thomas was a freshman. He had played a little bit during the season. We saw some real special things. Coach saw some special things. We also had Eugene Edmond, who played at Northern with Kevin and Kirk Cassidy. So we had two really, really good backs. And I think Eddie, did a lot of the, perimeter stuff and sweeps and counters. And then, Gene would be the trap guy then, and then the lead guy. But they both were great running backs. Offensive line, I was bigger than my center. I was heavier. Ryan O'Connor was our center. Matt Brace, who I played college ball with as well. We'll get into him a little bit later. Larry Brace's brother, John Landry, and Bob Bedell. So that was a great game. We won 41-7. Not that I would ever remember that.
Yeah. Right.
We had the 99. We had the 99-yard drive after they, pinned us in at the 1-yard line after a punt. We just had a real good club. We had a great defense. Jerry Krieg was running our defense at the time. Rich was calling the offense, and we were very talented.
And Rich at that time, and even beyond that, always had very unique ways, at least from an outsider's perspective. When we went and watched him, whether I was a student there or whether later we went, when my daughter went there, they always had unique ways of running things, right? And whether it be lining up everybody over here, it's kind of the first guys I've seen. Everybody lines up here when they kick the field goal. Yeah. And then next thing you know, everybody's messed up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But Rich seemed to be that guy who could think outside the box and was really progressive. And when you talk about that, I'm looking at the kind of notes we have here. Said at that time, we had 525 yards total offense that game. And that season, you had, from what this says, 31 touchdowns.
Yes.
That's no joke.
We had a great balance. We had, three really good run out. Mike Zucula was a great fullback.
Great.
And then we had great receivers, and Rich did a great job. We ran power I, then we run some, 2 receivers or 3 receivers. So it was multiple but simple.
Yeah.
So
no, that's great, and it's amazing to me that those type of numbers aren't more talked about, right? I mean, I know it's been a while, Brian. It's been a while since we've been in high school. I graduated in '84. Yep. But it's been a while since we played. But those are some hellacious numbers, and I'm not the type of guy going to blow smoke up your butt. Yeah. I'm just telling you, it is what it is, and that had to be a hell of a game.
Yep, it was a great game. Thanks.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit, as a quarterback, right? Yeah. What's your strategies and techniques that you find most effective when you're playing to lead your team? And did you play quarterback at St. Joe's as well?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
In high school, it was get the ball to the guys. Yeah. Get them to the guys in space. Talented, fast, athletic. I wasn't much of a runner. Didn't run in college at all. The game has since changed since back when I played in high school and college, and as a coach, I've been able to adjust and do what we need to do to win. But I was mostly under center quarterback. My high school years, we really never went shotgun, which was okay. And then once I got to college, they tweaked some things. The offense is the West Coast offense. It was the West Coast offense. We had some really nice backs. We had some really nice receivers. Like I said, it took me 2 years to basically figure it out. Yeah. I didn't play my freshman, sophomore year other than JV games in college. And then my junior year, I split time with another guy. And then my senior year, we really kind of flourished because we had basically all upperclassmen playing offense. Yeah. Had some cool records throwing at St. Joe for a while until all the spread stuff came. Yep. It was a great experience. We just had a golf outing with a bunch of guys from St. Joe. We had about 35 guys, and we'll kind of get that a little bit later. Yep. But just the stories and the games and the guys that remember, hey, this play on this, silver 167, check that, as College of St. Francis, throwing it to Rodney Lewis, my guy, so, but I've never coached that in high school, the West Coast.
Yeah.
I've taken versions of it.
Yeah.
Because it was a hard offense to learn, and it's a really hard offense to coach.
Yeah.
If you don't have that guy at quarterback.
Yeah. Right.
But I've used version of the I-back. I will say I've never coached the wing T, or I've never coached up wishbone. But basically every other offense that I've been able to coach since 1990. So, but as a quarterback, I was talking to the guys this weekend. I said the hardest thing about the West Coast is you have to know what everybody's doing. You don't just have to know what you're doing.
Yeah. What
the guards and centers and tackles and tight ends and, what the whole scheme is. Yeah. So, well, I was able to learn how to coach offensive line.
Yeah.
Because in 1989, I had to know what every one of these guys were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of leads to the next one is how those experiences in high school player and college, right? How that shape your coaching style as you approach the game. So you come in. Your first coaching was at Prairie Central?
My first coaching gig was at Cremoni.
That's right. I think I remember.
I did there 1 year, and then I went back home, and I coached under Rich from 91 to 99.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
I was quarterback coach. Started calling the offense about 94, 95, somewhere in there, and which kind of prepared me to be a head coach and then get on Prairie Central.
Now, did you teach there too?
I taught PE there.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So you followed Roney right there, didn't you? Right.
Yes. Jack had just left. Yep.
Yeah. So that really being kind of the tutelage of Rich probably was a big benefit for you as well. I mean, you probably got a lot of experiences, but coming from that probably was good for you. And then kind of spreading your wings as calling the offense at some point was probably
spread and widen things out were kind of coming in then.
Yeah.
92, 93, 94. And then when you have the opportunity to coach great backs and have great receivers around them, he kind of took me a couple years to kind of win his trust.
Yeah.
Hey, coach, when are you going to delegate the offense to me? And then, so it came around 94, 95. And then, we did a lot more spread stuff. We did a lot more gun stuff.
Yep.
And then, but we still had the base power I back, double tights, hey, let's get after it and we're going to ram it down your throat. But when we needed to spread it out, we had that opportunity to do that. So.
Yeah. It probably took Rich was probably, I don't know Rich personally, except for some interactions when my daughter went there, was always a gentleman, very nice guy to me. But it probably take a little bit to earn his trust because, the guy knows what he's doing. So at some point to say, okay, I'm going to turn this over to you, probably took a little while. And that was probably a big day for you and year for you once he did that, right?
Yep, for sure.
And so you left there, and then you went to Prairie Central,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Which we're going to get into here shortly.
Okay.
Throughout your career, both as a player and coach, who are some of the best players? I know I watched, as you asked me to, watch Paul Garcia. Is that his name, right?
Paul Garcia. Yep.
Watched Paul Garcia's interview, and I think you got a lot of guys that you played with that not only you remember well, but you talk pretty emotionally about have grown up, right? And that's kind of your goal. I think as a coach, you're on the football field, but you're really teaching young men.
That's right.
And they've grown up. Now they're grown men, right? Talk a little bit about some of those young guys at the time that are now young men.
Oh my, some of them are grown men.
Yeah.
Thomas Gwines, he was, we talked about, he was probably the best lineman I've ever been involved. I didn't coach him per se. In the NFL for a while, we still keep in touch. Best defensive player. I just saw Matthew Brace just over the weekend. We played high school ball together for a couple years, and he went to St. Joe as a 3-time All-American.
Yeah.
At St. Joe, at linebacker. Kevin and Kirk Cassidy.
Yeah.
Still good friends of mine.
Let's talk about Kevin and Kurt and where they went to college and your relationship with those two two young guys. So talk a little bit about, paint people a picture that are watching us about that relationship you have with Kevin and Kurt, both on the field and off the field and today. Talk a little bit about those two guys.
So, probably going into my senior year, they were juniors. Man, we went to the field every day. It was those two guys and a couple other receivers, Joel and man, they were like, hey, let's just throw. Just throw. Just keep throwing. Don't throw the hitch, throw the out, throw the slant, throw the back shoulder fade, So we did that every day. Probably that whole summer. And it was a trust thing for sure. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna do my 3-step hit, throw. Those guys are gonna go get it. They made me look really good at times.
Yeah, right.
And then they ended up going to Northern Illinois. Kevin started on defense probably for 3 years. He played free safety for him. And then Kurt played wide receiver. They were a little more. They were a 1-2 receiver type offense. Yeah. So he wasn't really highlighted that much. Yeah. They were just great football players, great men.
For them, it'd be great at some point to talk to those guys because it sounds like a good package deal, right? You know how recruiting goes, and then you've got you and your brother, and then they say, hey, we want one, we want the other, right?
Yeah, and for sure. They're doing great. They're State Farm agents down in Decula, just north of Atlanta, Georgia.
Really?
So, yeah, actually, right when my mom passed, Dad and I went down that summer right after and went down there for about, 4 or 5 days. Kevin and Kurtz played golf and hung out. Yeah, it was great. But they're doing great. Guys I coached, there's 2 guys that I have down here on this, question 11 is, Phil Short. Phil Short was he got in a little trouble, and he was at Prairie Central. This is 2005, 2006. So Phil ended up not going to play college ball. He ended up got in a little trouble. And love you, Phil. And he was in the Marine Corps. Yeah. He became a man.
Yeah, right.
So he was a great football player.
Yeah. And now, did he get in trouble and then go to the Corps, Brian?
Yeah.
So do you think that being in the Corps kind of helped him?
No doubt. So he gets out, goes to lives in Peoria, goes to Bradley University, gets his undergrad, and then he's a lawyer. He got his lawyer degree from Notre Dame.
Isn't that amazing?
Love you, man. Love you, brother. Just a great kid, man. Yeah. Got 2 little kids now, married, works downtown. Yeah. We keep in touch probably monthly. Yeah. And then Jason Schrader's my other one. Jason Schrader, he played in 90, 91, 92. He used to come over to my house when we lived on Prairie. Mom would make him dinner. I'd tutor him in geometry and just kind of get him out of his way. Yeah. Jason goes to what's the junior college? College DuPage for a year.
Yeah, familiar with that.
Transfers to Olivet, has a great career at Olivet. Gets his master's degree. We're going to retire at the same time in 4 years or 4 or 5 years. He's an administrator up in Libertyville.
Okay, yeah.
So we don't keep in touch as much anymore. He's coaching track. He doesn't coach ball anymore. But, those 2 guys right there are just kind of what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I think when you talk about these guys, Brian, I think, and we talked about setting this up, and you say, hey, I'm heading to Indianapolis with some of my guys, right?
Yeah.
From college. I think, and I always try to have some personal level of discussion because I think oftentimes we move on. Life gets busy, right? You get married, you have kids, right? Everyone gets a little bit older. I think those times are really, really important to be able to say, hey, no, I'm going to keep in touch with you. I'm going to talk to you. Even, I've got guys I haven't talked to for probably met face to face for 5 to 7 years. If I call him today and said, I need you, he'd be there. And it's not that we're not friends. They've got their stuff. I've got our stuff. Right. And we keep, it's kind of, and you've made the time to do that, which is so important because I'm like, hey, we're going to get together. Next thing you know, it's too late, right? So I think that's important that you did that. And I'm not going to kid you. I was super excited to know you're going down and meet your buddies and stuff because I think it's such an important time just for you as emotionally, but mentally too, going back and reliving that stuff, talking about stuff, and just, I always describe playing grab ass with the guys, joking around, messing around, having a few beers here and there, right?
There were between 5 and 10 guys I ain't seen in 30 years.
Yeah.
Since we left in 1990 or played in the alumni games in 91, 92, 93. And we talked about that, Hey, I haven't seen you since 1994. So it's been almost 30 years.
It's probably jumped right back on a bike, right? Like,
man,
it's like awesome. You haven't, I mean, it may have been 30 years, but you jump right back into it. Like you just talked to them
Just
yesterday.
the razzing and the joking. And, it was such a great time.
That's great, man. That's great.
Thanks.
Let me ask you a question, man. This is such an important part for coaches. I've had good coaches and bad coaches. Some of them turn me off from certain things. Other ones turn me on. Like, oh man, this is where I want to be. What lessons or values do you try to instill in your players on and off the field? Because when you're coaching, right, and you know this, and I don't know if other, but you're not coaching just on the field. You're also then an influence off the field. When you talk about guys, that maybe get in trouble and stuff. That weighs on you too. No different than if you lose a game, it weighs on you. But those life things are really tough. So what lessons or values do you try to instill in your guys, even today, right? The young guys, they've got so much going on, so much distractions, everything's in their face, so much garbage that's out there. What do you try to do there, and what are those values or lessons you try to teach them?
Just the golden rule. Be a good person, do the right thing, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Trust, respect. I'm not, when I was a head coach, it was, here's the list. Respect your opponent, respect your coaches, respect the admin, respect the referees, respect your opponent. So golden rule, I learned that in 1982.
Yeah.
The day I stepped at Mac, Jack Roney, Jack, Jimmy Frog. I mean, that was the thing then, and it's still to today.
Yeah.
You gotta trust each other. You gotta trust the guy next to you. If you don't in football, you can't succeed without 11 guys.
Yeah.
The guy next to you, look to your right, look to your left. I even do this coaching at El Paso. At the end of the pursuit drill, and hey, did that guy get to the 2.5 marker? Did that guy get to the 15 marker? And if they don't, hey, this is on you, fellas.
Yeah.
So those are basically the things I really talk about is golden rule, trust, and respect.
And so talk about those pillars as well, especially with this young guy over here.
Yeah.
What role did mom and dad play in your life as far as where you're at as a man? Right?
Yeah, for sure. Playing Bradley Lions, my mom was involved there, and, Little League baseball. My dad was coach. He coached me as like in ninth when I was 9 and then got his own job, at the VFW.
Yeah.
And we even talked about that the other day with Matt Grace and Tony Swain and those guys. They just chased Kevin and I around. My brother Kevin.
Yeah.
He's 3 years younger than I am. And, then, we get the Mac. And Mac, Rich was good friends with my dad because they play softball together. He's good friends with Joe Zanandy and Rich Zanandy and Jerry Krieg and a lot of the guys that were my coaches at Bishop Mac.
Yeah.
And then, wherever we had a game, wherever we had practice, it was close enough. We kind of razzed the generation now is we used to get on our bike and we had practice at Kraler's. We rode the Kraler's.
Yeah. Yep.
Couldn't go on the east side of Bradley, but you can go to Kraler's.
Yeah. Right.
Practice at the ballparks out here, in Bourbon or Bourbonnais, where the Little League was. Hey, mom, dad, I need a ride. And they figured it out.
Yeah.
They did well for us.
Yeah. I know mom and dad have a big influence on people's lives, especially you think about it. I always say, my daughter played softball. She's a pickle to deal with. That's just a kind way of putting it. She's tough to deal with. She's a tough personality. But she's super smart, super talented, one of the most talented athletes I know.
Yeah.
But mom and dad we try to do whatever we can do. People say, all right, why are you doing that? Why are you making them? I'm like, look, if they wanted to play in a league in China, I try to figure out how I can get to China to help them play that league, right? And mom and dad does that for you. And then when you think about it, you look back, you know, getting you up every day, making you dinner, right? Being there, even when dad's hard on you, right? Like, you look back on it now and go, it made sense. May not like it then, but it made sense.
It made sense back then, even.
Did it? Good.
You know, because I kind of had a plan. I had a goal, and that was to play ball. And the coach. And you know, we grew up in the lower middle class. You know, Dad worked a job, worked his tail off. Mom worked odd jobs. She did some cleaning, did some other stuff. So we didn't have much. Yeah. You know.
And I think
you know we you know, when we went out to eat once a week. You know, the rest of the time was dinner on the table. Yeah. You know, or at the Little League Park or wherever. And then, you know, Dairy Queen, like we have a Dairy Queen in town where I live, and you know, we do well. Tracy and I do well, you know, but we didn't get Dairy Queen unless we went to the doctor and had a shot and didn't cry.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
That was the incentive. So
yeah, right.
We didn't have much, but we didn't have much physical stuff, but we had the love and we had what's best for you guys, what's best for our kids, my sister Laura, myself and my brother Kevin. So,
yeah. Well, I think too, sometimes people think this is a misnomer. You go to Bishop Mac, you gotta have a ton of money, right? And that's just not the case. You know, I'm the youngest of 9. Right? My father died in '74, so my mom raised us all up. We didn't really have a pot to piss in, brother, right? And somehow, after Dad died, you know, in '81, I think it was, 82, somewhere in the area, I went to, you want to go to Bishop Mac? She didn't have that money to go to Bishop Mac, but they made it happen, right? And I think that's the important thing that as you grow older, you realize, like, how they do the things that they did.
I say that every day.
Yeah, because you're in that position now, right?
100%.
You're like
100%.
And I think I keep thinking about my young kids. Like, someday they'll look back and go, they weren't so bad. They may have been tough on stuff and had rules, but you know what? They all made sense, right? You know, I think I'm honored to have your dad here because I know he came.
I'm glad you did come.
My daughter played softball. We traveled all over the country with her, right? So since she played softball, she's a catcher. You got to be tough to be a catcher, right? You got to be tough to be a quarterback too. You got to take those hits from those linemen.
A lot of leadership qualities right there.
Yeah, and so and we see it today in her, right? But
then my niece Allison plays at Rock Valley.
Okay.
So they did the travel ball from like age 10 years. They did 10 years, and so that was their vacation.
Yeah.
You know, so for sure.
It's still a hard thing today for me to think we go do stuff. We were lucky enough to have a nice little 10, 12-day vacation recently, but it's still hard to do it because you think, where's the kids? Got to have the kids here, right? It kind of builds you in, but you know, my position is, hey, you only live once, right? I've experienced close to death, and I say, hey, man, we got to do what we got to do. Now, don't get me wrong, Brian. I'll piss and moan the whole time. When we get to this August, when the season's done, I'm like, we're not doing it next year. And I said, we probably could save all that money at the hotels and gas and probably pay for ties. The problem is going out there, she had an opportunity to go to school.
Right.
That was in 2012. That was $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
We didn't have $60,000, brother. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, to just throw it to school, right? And I'm sure mom and dad didn't either. So those were those vacations. I think that's a great point with your dad.
For sure.
You know, and it's good to know out playing with the guys that helped shape you too.
Yeah,
Jerry Crees,
absolutely.
The Ronies, right?
They were friends.
Right. And Coach Zanani. How about, what are your thoughts on the role of high school football in promoting teamwork, discipline, and personal growth? It's kind of what we kind of touched on a little bit, but talk about that. Like, I think sometimes say, hey, people think, especially these days, I want to get the ball, I want to throw it and catch it, and I'm a stud, right? I'm a star. But there's something behind that process that carries you on in life too, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. You know, I'll just kind of, my first year at Prairie Central, you know, in '99, I was hired in May and we started in July. And just kind of, you gotta get the kids bought in. You gotta make them believe what you're trying to sell. You know, and I'd be a terrible salesman, but I could get the point across that here's how things work. You know, You got to trust your staff. Surround yourself with good people who have the same goals.
Yeah.
Prairie Central was 1-17 the 2 prior years. And then we made the playoffs. Then we made the playoffs again. And we got a relationship with a bunch of the guys still from those teams that still live in town. Then it just you got to surround yourself with good people, and you got to have a plan. Trust the process.
Yeah.
I got some notes later down in 2017. I was at Streeter Township. We went 2-7, 3-6, and then our quarterback John Michael Beckendorf. It was trust the process. So we go 5-4, make the playoffs. And that senior night that night is, hey Johnny man, trust the process. Trust the process. We trust you, coach.
And talk about, and this is again, I don't mean to go off our list.
It's all right.
But let's talk a little bit about, we're a little bit large area. We're certainly not Chicago. But going down to those smaller towns, right? I had the honor of going down. Didn't know it was an honor. Iroquois West football.
Yeah.
Down in Gilman. Met a coach down there. The new head coach, and he's Coach Steele, and spent time down there. And we talked a lot about small town football, right? Small town football, and you experience that, Mac, too. But that in some towns, it's like that's what you do on Friday nights. There ain't nothing else going on. And at the barber shops, at the cafes, at the bars, they're talking about, hey, what are we going to do this fall, right, for high school football? Talk a little bit about that small town environment that maybe, with all due respect to the larger schools, larger communities, don't get to experience that really magical setting on Friday nights going to
it's different.
Football.
It's different because I came from big city to the Fairbury, 4,000 students, and then Forest is 2,500, and then Chatsworth, and then in 2004 Chenoa co-opted with us.
Okay.
So we had our enrollment was 680 at the time. It's gone down since then, but when you're good, let's go back. Start of the school year, the admin is always talking about, hey, man, we win week one. And then when you win week one, the whole environment, the whole climate of the school is different. And if you have I built a program, a lot of people help, but that week one win is huge.
Yeah.
Because then you go, hey, man, win week two, then you're on a winning streak. So there were many, many years there at Prairie Central where, Friday night wasn't a thing. Prior to me being there, and I'll pat myself on the back, is they went to watch the band at halftime and everybody left.
Yeah.
Win some games, have some success, and have good people in the program. It just kind of blew up. And it was great for years, for many, many years. And then now I'm at El Paso-Gridley, kind of the same thing. Good new young head coach Tanner Benedict.
Okay.
He'll be in his third year coming up. He just turned 26. He's got 3 kids on the age of 3.
Yeah.
And kind of leaning on me a little bit. And we did the salute to service last year. Played Gibson's. No, we played DMAC, a big rivalry, and did T-shirts, and basically both communities were there.
Yeah.
On Friday night, and this year we're playing. I think we might play in Gibson City. Week 2, got hats for sale and everything, and the T-shirts from last year. So it's just different. It really is.
Gives you a sense of probably a really great feeling walking onto the field, right? Having people there, and that's the concentration of the community, right?
Right, 100%.
That's that small town life people really don't
for
get.
Sure, 100%.
Yeah,
and there's nothing better than a Saturday afternoon playoff game either.
That's right. That's exactly
nothing better.
Well, I'll tell you what. Now I'm going to just move to the side of it. I went watching Bishop Mac. Went down. My daughter, I think, was a junior or senior. Went down and played. And these guys. Played. The Rockets. Rochester. Went down there. Thought, hey, we'll be all right. And they did that spread.
Yeah.
The quarterback ended up going. I can't remember his name. Ended up going to Illinois. I think he went to Oklahoma State. Yeah, there you go. And they spread those guys out. I don't even know if they had a lineman, to be honest with you. It seemed like everybody was a catcher. And they would go, boom, boom, boom. And I think by halftime, and with all due respect to our MAC teammates, or your MAC teammates, our MAC classmates for a limited time I was there, they handed it to us. And it's the first time I've seen something like that in my life. And I really tried to dig into that Rochester, finding out later where his father's at, right? Sacred Heart Griffin, I think it is, right?
Yeah, just retired.
It's one of those things like it was two magical teams,
Yes.
but they did something different down there, and that's kind of what you did at Prairie Central. Not maybe that often, but you brought something different and a new life to them.
Yeah.
And how do you think those kids remember back on that time? You know, I mean, it's a magical time. You made it to the state
in 2003.
to the state championship, correct? Was that
correct?
Yeah. And so even though you didn't win it, it's a huge time.
It was awesome. You talk about my guy at Rochester.
Yes.
It's Derek Leonard. He's one of my best friends.
Great.
He came to me in 2003. He was my assistant coach for 2 years at Prairie Central. And he is a freaking genius.
Really?
Yep. And his dad just retired with Sacred Heart Griffin as the winningest coach in Illinois State history. And it won't be long before his son passes him up. Okay. So I have question number 7, and I'm going to dabble in here.
Okay. Yeah. That's great.
2003, I see Derek's dad at a clinic in the spring. And Derek was graduated from Illinois College, played football there.
Yep.
And Kenny's a real good friend of mine now, and he's like, "Hey man, my son's looking for a job. You know, hey, you got any PE openings?" I'm like, "Hey, let me go back and check with my principal, Dan Schmidt." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'll interview him." So Derek comes down, and he lives in our apartment that my wife owns a retail consignment store in a building, and almost burnt the place down. That's another story in itself. But he comes in, and we kind of, talk about offense, and we got this all-state quarterback coming back, Dylan Ward, and we put this offense in, and it's easy stuff. It's it's basic stuff, but I dabbled in it before. But so we go through this summer, and we're basically spread and run the ball a little bit. Well, after week 1, we played St. Joe Ogden. All right, so we ran the ball okay, and we won, 28-17. Our defense was stellar, and our quarterback threw for 250 yards, and we rushed for 150. It was okay. Yeah. So we get off the bus on Friday night. I think we were on the road, and he goes, "Hey man, we got to change something." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Hey, you want to win a state championship?" I go, "Well, of course." Yeah. He goes, "We need to go empty."
And talk a little bit about empty, so people that maybe aren't following it.
So empty is this: 3 receivers on one side, 2 on the other, or 4 on one side, 1 on the other. That's empty formation. So Saturday we watch film, and Derek's like, "Let me call my dad." So he calls Kenny, and he goes, "Hey, give me Otto Zeman's number. Riverside Brookfield. They've been running empty for a while." So we literally go in my office, turn the speaker on. We talk for an hour and a half, and he goes, "Man, we can make this work." And Matt Fox was on my staff then too. Yes. Matt and Derek kind of did the offense. Yeah, I did the defense, and Matt's a great man. I love Matt. I love Derek too. So we called Dylan Ward and said, "Hey, you got to come in the office. We're going to talk to you about something." So he comes in. Dylan's 6'2", 6'3", 3-sport all-state athlete. His junior senior freak, threw the ball better than anybody I've ever been a part of. Derek goes, "Hey, Dylan, I think we're going to go empty. We're going to go 5 wide, and we're going to throw it every down." He's like, "I'm in." Yeah. Yeah. So Monday comes, and we did all offense. We did offense Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't even think we did defense for 3 days. Next week we play one of my best friends in coaching is Dave Jacobs. He's the head coach of Rochester. Okay. At the time, built the program, Had a real nice team, great coach. I love him to death. He's a brother from another mother. So we play them, and we come out empty. We're 5 wide. Linemen are holding on, holding hands. As soon as the ball snapped, we let go. And we had like 19 holding calls in the game, but that's not the point. The point is my buddy Dave, hey Dave, he's like over there on the sideline after about the first or second series going, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And we ended up winning, 42-10.
Yeah.
And it just kind of snowballed from there. But that's my Derek Leonard story. That's my Kenny Leonard, Derek, two of the best men to ever do it.
Yeah.
Lays the shoes up on the sideline, and they've been a huge influence on me. My buddy Dave, I love you, Dave. I help with the Shrine game with Dave. Good Christian. They're all good Christian men, and we'll get into that a little bit later too. But that's probably one of the funnest times of my life.
Yeah.
And we're going to have our 20th reunion of that year,
Really?
2023.
Yeah.
And
so he's moved on to Rochester, and they've taken that.
He's taken it to a whole different level.
It's a whole different level, right?
And they've won 8. They've won 8.
Yes.
They won 8, and in the other 4 years, other than the COVID year, they played in the semis.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, when I seen him down there, and that had to be 2011.
Yes, I was on the sidelines on the other side.
Yeah, and I'm watching it, and at halftime we're like, no, we're done, right? Because you couldn't stop it. I mean, they were all over.
Yeah.
I mean, cross and routes, this and that, and every time you turn around, it's like 20.
Then they played in a couple years ago up here in the Mud Bowl.
Yeah.
And Derek goes, "How do I stop that running back?" I said, "You can't."
Yeah.
The boy that went to Northern Michigan. Can't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tayshawn King.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was a Mud Bowl, and it was Derek goes.
Well, I think last year Derek or the year before came up and played. Derek, I'll get this
They
wrong.
played Loyola Wilmette.
Yeah, and they played Loyola, which is you're right, like a massive school, massive history, right?
Yeah.
They didn't win, but I think that says a lot about a coach saying, "Hey, we're going to play, and we're going to play people that are completely out of our league and go in there." And I think that maybe a little bit humbling for him.
He called me that week, and then I talked to him after the game. He goes, "I think I made a bad decision," but they beat him like 42-7. But that's all right. Anyway, good man. I love Derek.
I think, and so this is my question, and this isn't my issue. Derek, I've talked to some of your people a couple of years ago, kind of not interested in coming. Love to have you on the podcast because I want to highlight these coaches, right?
Yes, sir.
And I think it's important. I always think, with all due respect to my friends north of 80, south of 80, think to Southern Illinois, we don't get the coverage. When I pulled up that Tribune article about you, I was amazed that the Tribune wrote about us, even though state championship. That you won at Bishop Mac, but we don't get that. And I think, obviously he's got, I'm sure he gets plenty of press, right? But I think it's important to get those things out because I think in small town America, people are doing the right thing.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yep.
So we talk a little bit about St. Joe, right? So you went to St. Joe. St. Joe had closed, right? It's closed.
They closed their doors in 2017.
Yeah. But let's talk about the good days when you were there. And, kind of that relationship that you had a chance to visit with all these guys. How many guys were there this weekend?
We had around 35.
35.
We started the outing. That was our 4th year. We had like 16, went up to 20 some. Then it's going to keep building. But yeah, St. Joseph's College. I had 2 of my former high school teammates I played with. Bob Bedell, played with Bobby in college and high school. Matt Brace was the other one. Matt was 2 years younger than us. Like I said, he was a 3-time All-American. Bob played offensive line. My buddy Todd Hull, he was from Clifton Central. He was there this weekend. He played offensive guard for us. So we had some local ties at St. Joe. We were Division II at the time. Most games we won was 6 games in a year. When my time there, I didn't play much as a freshman, so I didn't play at all on the varsity in a freshman, sophomore. Then my junior year, I dabbled, and Damon Randolph, my good buddy, him and I split time at quarterback. And then my senior year, we had a real nice offense. We were top 10 in the country in total offense, scoring, but we gave up, 50 points a game.
Yeah, right. Those two things are important to have together. Right?
Yeah, we talked. Some of the guys were there this weekend. The first game of the year, my senior year, we go out to Connecticut. My dad, my mom go out. So we play University of Southern Connecticut State University. So two of the guys that were freshmen on that defense, they go, Brian, you know what the worst game ever was? Was Southern Connecticut State University. I go, well, yeah. I had gotten hurt. I hurt my shoulder right at the end of the first half. We were up 24-0. I mean, we were dominating. Defense was playing great. So we ended up losing the game 42-24. And those freshman sophomores were on that defense were super bummed.
Yeah.
Because I got hurt. I ended up missing the next game. We played University of Dayton, lost that game. And then the week after that, we played at University of Indianapolis. We lost 52-49.
Wow.
I threw for like 380. We just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was a great experience because I had an opportunity to play baseball too. So I created a lot of friendships. I kind of headed up this golf outing annual thing with a couple guys from the Indy area, and we're just going to continue to build it. It was such a great time.
Now, how was that? I mean, when you take on those projects, do you ever think, hey, I bit off more at yours? It fell in place for you pretty good.
Not. I mean, it went from 16 to where we were at 35.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep building it.
Yeah.
I contacted some of my baseball buddies about maybe coming. And, there's interest, probably the best weekend of the year for me, Yeah. It was just unbelievable. Love you guys. But then, like Ronnie Lewis, I mentioned, came up from Atlanta. My other receiver, Jeff Fairchild, came up from Atlanta. And we had guys from Columbus and Jimmy Hilver, the Joker. He's head coach of Baldwin Wallace University. Yeah. He came over with Matt Brace. Matt Brace came up from Dallas.
Yeah. Wow.
He owns two companies on there with his son's running it. And, it was just super fun and super great experience. Coach Bates, he's the D coordinator at the University of Pittsburgh.
Oh, really?
Reached out to us on Facebook. Hey, give me a list of the guys in the picture. And then they were texting back and forth.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then Brian Rock, he was on our staff. He was on staff then. He's now with Fair State, back-to-back national championships, Division II. He reached out to me on Facebook and text message. So I still have connections there, and I'm just going to hopefully continue to, spread the love of the Puma Nation, which closed in 2017. We're all just kind of shaking our head, and it's mind-blowing, but there is no homecoming.
Right.
This is our homecoming.
That's right.
And I know they have one in North Michigan City. They have these like 70 graduate 78 to mid 80s. They have their own in Michigan, not their own, but they have one. Yeah, right. And so this was guys from 84 till about 93.
Okay.
So I'm kind of hoping, maybe the 93 to the 2003.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I want to be involved. I want to come.
That's right.
It's kind of I want to make it a whole school thing, not just a football thing. You know what I'm saying,
right.
Jeff?
No, I absolutely.
I had such a great time.
Yeah.
And a lot of great players I played with.
Yeah.
A lot of great people.
Yeah.
Great businessmen.
Yeah.
Great families, great husbands.
Well, that kind of leads me into
great fathers.
Questions here. And I think I'm going to jump to some of these. I try not to skip them, but
it's all right.
Let's talk a little bit about guys that left a lasting impression on you that you either played with or you coached, and not just on the field, but in particular off the field, right? You talked both in Paul's interview a little bit. We've touched a little bit on this interview. We're going to touch on a little bit about faith, right? And let's talk a little bit about some guys that maybe have influenced you, or that you've had the opportunity to influence them, being that mentor, that friend, right?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about a couple of them already, but Rich Zanani, father figure to me.
Yeah.
from 1982 till current.
Yeah.
Jack Roney, man, he was the guy,
Yeah.
Jack, JT.
Yeah, right.
I'm going as a freshman. He was my freshman football coach, and then sophomore basketball coach. We went to chapel prior to every game.
Yeah.
And he's back there now. He's going to retire in a year. So, great man. Great man. Love Jack. Dave Jacobs, he was head coach at Rochester. Now he's retired. I helped with the Shrine game with him. We've been friends for a long time. Since 1999 when I took the Prairie Central job. We started playing Rochester then. So we talk daily. We talk weekly. I called him on the way home from Indy the other day.
Yeah.
I saw song came up, Margaritaville.
Yeah.
He likes his margaritas.
Yeah.
I said, took a snapshot. Hey, thinking about you.
Yeah.
Derek Leonard, Kenny Leonard. What can I say? Just great Christian men.
Yeah.
They all these men are. My buddy Alan Dunahee from Prairie Central. We're good friends. We don't talk as much as we used to because we were working in the same building together. But he's the reason why we attended the Baptist church.
Yeah.
Born and raised Catholic. He was my best friend.
Yeah.
He coached football with me for years. I coach his kids.
Yeah.
His oldest son's doing great. He's living in Champaign. Actually, he was a basketball manager under John Gross when he was there.
Okay. Yeah.
Peyton's playing golf at Chicago State. My wife and his wife Lorley are great friends. Dan Gross, he was a Chinoa guy. Came in with the annexation. He's actually teaching my grandson now, and he's still in the educational part of it. Just a great man. I'm great friends with his son.
Yeah.
He was on the 06 team, which we haven't even dabbled into. Those are the coaches that I've been around.
Yeah.
But there's just so many other kids, young men that.
Yeah, right. They'll always be kids, but they have grown up.
Changed my life. Phil Short, Derek Stevens. He was on my '99 team.
Yeah.
First All Shaders at Prairie Central. He's a farmer in town. I coach his brother Dustin.
Yeah.
Who's a traveling physical therapist. Yeah. His parents used to go to church, and I think Derek goes to the church at our Baptist church.
Okay.
Dylan Ward. Threw for 4,000 some hundred yards and 55 touchdowns. And he's doing great. He's living in Pontiac, and I saw him. We played golf. We need to play golf together.
Yeah, sure.
Will Barsma, part of that 03 team. Brian and Trent Bounds, one of my best friends, Brian Bounds.
Okay.
The whole 06 group,
The good times. And it sounds like as you're talking through this, obviously emotional, but I think what's important is that you've lived you lived a full life, right?
I sure have.
I think about that, especially after my, battle with transplant and almost dying.
Yeah.
That I've lived a good life, and I'm blessed to have it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you have a lot of people in your life.
Yeah. 2006 group, man. Usually teams have 4 captains.
Yeah.
We had 10.
And why is that? Talk a little bit about that and what's special about that. I know it's going to be tough for you to talk about, but I think it's important.
Jimmy Hillensberger, I coached his brother in 03. Alex Diller, I coached his brother in 03. His dad was on staff. JT Zimmerman, who's the assistant coach of Aurora now. Phil Short, Louis Gross, Matt Stoller. I'm going to forget some people, but just Brent Mowry, coach's brother later on in 2008, 2009. We just had a brotherhood, It was, and I talk to these guys all the time still.
Yeah, it's a special time.
It is.
Yeah.
And, I had a couple interviews. I interviewed at Providence and a couple other places, and this was prior to the '06 season. And, there's no way.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, right.
So we talk about faith and talk about church and Christ and
I've got a whole bunch of questions.
We're going to kind of get into this because we'll start right here.
Because I think I've got 8 questions, but we're going to combine them into one.
Yes.
About your faith, right, and how that became both in personal experiences, right, but talk a little bit about your family life, that faith, times that you really needed to rely on the Lord.
Yes.
Right, that you. Maybe shaking your fist. I've done that sometimes. Like, what's going on? Why is this happening?
Yes.
And then how it strengthened you, both as a man and a husband, a father, right? Those are important things, I think, that we don't see with coaches, especially these days. I think people don't understand. The guys on the other side of the field, the players, the coaches, the refs, right? Which we always, that's a big issue these days. These are good men, right?
Yeah.
They're donating their time oftentimes.
Right.
And the refs, they're getting paid, but they ain't getting paid diddly squat.
Right.
But let's talk a little bit about that faith, and if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
Let's talk about your family. Let's talk a little bit about your wife and your family. Tell me about your wife, where you met her, stuff like that, if you're okay with that. Right? I always like to know that foundation.
Sure. Grew up, kind of just go back, went to St. Joe Church. Born and raised Catholic, went to the Catholic high school, went to the Catholic college. Met my wife in junior high, probably. She lived literally 4 blocks from me. Tracy Cullens was her name. Tracy Hassett now. I wouldn't say I was a practicing Catholic. I went.
Yeah.
But I really didn't understand, Jeff.
Sure. Yeah. I can appreciate that.
And then we started dating my October of my senior year. She was a junior. She went to Bradley Bourbonnais.
Yeah.
So we dated all the way through college. We got married in 1992. And then we started going to the Baptist church on the west side of Kankakee. My daughter Abigail was born in 94. My daughter Anna was born in 96. So we started probably about 96, 97. Her dad was a good Christian man, is a good Christian man. We went to church. I can't remember the name of the church on the west side there. And that kind of got me into the Baptist church.
Yeah.
I went because we went to Aurelio's every Sunday afterwards.
Yeah.
Still didn't really get it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I knew I was there.
Yeah.
But I went for lunch.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we get to Fairbury, and then I meet Alan and Laura Lee, and we start going to the Baptist church. The Baptist pastor at the time, they had just moved to Fairbury in 99. So we kind of came together.
Yeah.
He had a son that played football for me, Steve Anderson, great man. He was there probably, oh gosh, I'm going to screw this up, maybe 10 years. But, yeah, I love Steve Anderson, Steve and Linda, good people. And so I got baptized in the Baptist church, I don't know, maybe 2001, 2002. The light bulb just kind of went on, you know. So I'm still a member of the Baptist church. I would say I'm going to say this wrong. The configuration of the Baptist church is a lot of different denominations.
Yeah, right.
In our church.
Yeah.
The pastor now is Daryl Evans. He's one of my best friends. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't been in person since COVID.
Yeah.
We watch online. I need to go. And anyway, so in 2006, Tracy's pregnant. Let me go back. My son Nicholas was born in 2000. And so that was in the transition of the move from Bourbonnais to Fairbury.
Yeah.
So Nick's doing great. He's back home. He's doing great. So in 2006, it was in July, so probably late 2005, Tracy's pregnant. And so she's going to the doctors and she's going to the OBGYN and they're taking scans and they really kind of won't tell us what's going on. She's like, the doctors just say there's something wrong. Hey, there's something wrong. Something wrong. So we have to schedule an appointment in Peoria and find out that Rebecca has holioprosencephaly and trimosate 13, which trimosate 12 or 11 is Downs.
Yeah.
So basically she had a hole in her heart and a hole in her brain. So Tracy carried out the pregnancy, and so July 30th, I think, is when she was born. But the reason this 06 group is so special, and you heard on the Paul show, but we went to Olivet for team camp, and this is probably right after we had just found out.
Yeah.
And nobody really knew anything. I think Coach Gross, I opened up to him about it, and Alan, my best friend Al, he was helping out. So we get on campus, and I told the boys what happened, what's going on. So they were all there.
Yeah.
The day of the service. And all my friends were there.
Yeah.
Todd Schweitzer was there.
Yeah.
Your boy Todd.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say this, but and you know this. You know who your true friends are.
That's right.
When you go through things like this. Brought my family close together, real close. Really close. And, our kids were born in the Baptist church. My wife was super involved with a lot of different things. I can't remember off the top of my head, but, memorizing Bible verses and going to these other churches. And, super cool stuff. And yes, I need to get back to church. But Jack Roney is a huge part. Rich Zanani, my buddy Dave Jacobs, Derek, Kenny.
Those are more than anyone. Those are difficult times, but I know, and from my personal experience, my mom raised me all my life from 7 on.
Right.
And she was my best friend.
Yeah.
And so in 1996, I was actually working a strike line, believe it or not, as a union officer. Got a call, my mom's in the hospital, got coming right away. She's got cancer, she's got 6 months to live. Doesn't really, you know what it is, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And we were blessed, Brian, to be at her house. And when you look back, especially when you get faith, right?
Yeah.
You look back, you understand things happen. They don't just happen for a reason.
Yeah.
They happen because they're planned that way.
Yeah.
And so that night, me and Charlotte, we lived in St. Anne.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter, Josie, was small. And so I said, let's go stay at the house. Let's go with your mom. So my sister, both sisters were in from, one was from Indiana, one from Arizona.
Right.
And we said, let's do that tonight. And we had hospice in. We knew what was going on, right? And they said, you start watching. There's these signs, right? As the feet start turning purple, things start getting, it's close. So we were sleeping and got a call, and it was about, people came and woke us up. We're sleeping it was so packed there, we were sleeping on the floor. And about 5:30, they said, it's close.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
We went in, we called my brothers and sisters, and we were there. We got to see her take her last breath, which was important for us.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing that she's leaving, we wanted to be there. And so I was working at Teamsters Local 705. My boss, Jerry Zero, who's now passed, a great guy, and Joe Pressler, who's also passed, a great administrator. I called him 7, and I said,
Yeah.
it's done. She's passed.
Yeah.
She died. And it should take as much time as you need. You don't need 3 days. You don't need a week. If you got to take a month, take it.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a big relief because our job was pretty stressful.
Yes.
And we had the funeral, right? And it was pretty nice. We were there and service, and it was in Moments at Cotter Funeral Home, and had a big thing of flower scents, big. I'm like, that means a lot.
Yeah.
And now I'm standing in front, and all the people are coming by. We're standing there, and people are waiting to talk to us and give us their condolences. And in walked all my officers in Chicago, right? Some of these guys are from up by Wisconsin.
Yeah.
The secretary, Katina was there, Jerry Zero. All these guys showed up, and they come walk in. I couldn't take it. I mean, I just, it was so great to have everyone there, but to see people that you're there, and like you said, there's 2 times, I've learned there's 2 important times in people's lives. And that is, they want you at your wedding, and they need you at a funeral.
Yep.
And they were there. And so when you talk about that, it's reminiscence of what I went through.
For sure.
And those people will always hold a special place in my heart.
Always.
Because, they could have did anything. And they came. And I know it's hard for people to show up at services, but I'll tell you what, the people that are on the receiving end of that love and that condolences, as you talked about these guys showing up, right?
Yep.
Todd Schweitzer, bless his,
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul, came down there, and those are special times, and those are special people that will impact you forever.
Kind of tell you with that, shortly after that, Al and I started FCA at Prairie Central.
Okay.
And then Scott Willie's now involved, good friend of mine. He still teaches there. Mike Wolf, get a shout out to Mike because he's part of the FCA. So got a lot of our stuff from the Leonards on how to do this and what to do, and it's all student based. And so we did that for years until I took my job at Streeter, and currently they don't have that up there, but I missed that.
Yeah.
I missed that for sure.
So in those challenging times we talked about with your daughter and stuff, how has your faith provided you with strength and resilience and guidance through those times? Because you've got a job to do too, right? So you're a father, you're a husband, you're going through a traumatic experience. Sometimes I'm really, in my life, I need something to fall back on. And I don't mean something.
Yeah, I hear you.
A wall, right?
Yeah.
I need something. And my faith has done that for me.
Yes.
And so, how has that provided you with the strength and resilience to get through those times, man?
It's the people and my wife and my family.
Yeah.
I mentioned these guys a ton of times. They know who they are.
Yeah.
But I've pretty much surrounded myself with good people my whole career.
Yeah.
A couple hiccups here and there,
Sure.
But, I so look at this right here. It goes back to the golden rule, man.
Yeah. That's right.
Be a good person, do the right thing, and treat everyone to be treated.
Yeah.
And then surround yourself with good people. I said it 1,000 times, and I'm repeating myself. But I had a great core at PC. I had a great core at Streeter.
Yeah.
And I have years of core.
Yeah.
From 92 on.
Yeah.
Heck, I'll even go. I'm going to throw a shout out to Mary Sharp. At Prairie Central. She might have been there when you were there.
Yeah. Yeah. This is Sharp, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mason Schweizer,
Yeah.
We talk all the time.
Yeah.
So I just got a core, man. When you have outlets.
Yeah.
Ton of them.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that.
Yes,
So
thankful and
thankful.
blessed, right?
Absolutely.
You know, I think coming through mine, and I'll share this with you briefly just for context. So when I found out I had to have a liver transplant, I was 300, my height was 305. I'm down to 170. Part of that is by design, part of it's by me. I went to Rush. They rejected me. I had open heart surgery back in 2011. They said I died on the table. Went to Northwestern. Hey, this is the place to be. You go to Northwestern.
Yeah.
You're going to die on the table. We're not going to do it, right? You can't make it. So I sent my records up to Mayo. And I thought, well, we'll do that. My cardiologist said, hey, you can go to Mayo or Cleveland Clinic. With 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. We chose Mayo. And we went there and we sent our records up. They rejected me too. And I'll be honest with you. I thought, well, I lived a pretty good life. It's not as long as I wanted to, but I outlived my dad. He died at 46. My one brother died at 46. Didn't quite make it to mom, who was 61, but this is it. It's not something you can process real well. 2 weeks later, phone rings. It's a area code. Like, I don't even know who that is. Spam call. So I said, it might be Mayo Clinic. You need to pick that up. And I said, why are they calling for me? They already rejected me. Well, a guy named Jerry, he's a fellow there. They call him, he's serving his fellowship in medical. And he said, we'd like you to come up do training for a week. Testing for a week. Not training, but testing. So he said, come up and do testing for a week, and let's see what we can do. And I went up there, and I'll tell you, I was on 10 liters of oxygen.
Yeah.
Walking around here, I walk 2.5 miles a day, back and forth, right behind where you're sitting, right? I know that path well.
Yeah.
And they finally accepted me. You know, they said, they were concerned about it, but they said, hey, you know what, I'll tell you something, we'll get back to you. During COVID.
Yes.
No one's there, can't get together. Finally, they called, because I thought for sure they were going to reject me, and they said, we're going to accept you. So we were heading up there, and prior to them, or once they accepted me, then it was a matter of the weight gain.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, and so I laid in bed one Saturday, and I turned to Charlotte, my wife, and I said, am I ever going to get this liver, or am I just going to die? And she said, you're going to get the liver.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks later, I had to go up there for just a normal meeting, to go up every 4 or 5 weeks.
Yep.
While you're waiting. And I was coming, Brian, to have a come to Jesus meeting.
Yeah.
Am I getting it or not? Just let me go then. If I'm not getting it, just let me die. Because I can't be in this limbo. Not that I wanted that. And so we're heading up. We're about 3 hours out. It was a bright, sunny day like today. The phone rang. It's on the car. It comes up. And it was Mayo. And we answered it. And it was Dr. Heimbach. And she said, hey, we got a liver for you. Yeah. And I said, it sounds great, but what does that mean? I mean, I know what it means, but now we're into it.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, how soon can you get it? I said, well, we're on our way now. She said, oh, that's great. Just come here. And so she walked me through everything that was going to happen. We got there. We waited. No one could be in the hospital. Luckily, they let Charlotte in. She had to leave early. Went home, went back to the hotel that night. And about 4 in the morning, he said, it's here.
Yeah.
We've got it. We've inspected it. It's yours. So we get ready, and I'm nervous as can be, brother. I'm so nervous.
Can't even imagine.
And so I started getting ready, and Dr. Heimbach, the little gal, sits in there, and she goes, hey, you ready, Jeff? And I said, yeah. She said, how you doing? I said, I'm nervous. And she said, don't be nervous. It's going to be okay. We do this all the time. That meant something to me, but I was so scared to death.
Yeah.
And she said, one of the things that they do, Brian, when you're bigger like I was, I'd lost 35 pounds of my own, but what they do is they'll take out part of your stomach, because when you get a new liver, they don't really like, your new liver doesn't like fat. So you don't want to get back, because that's what it caused. It was just not a good diet, hereditary stuff.
Yeah.
We've got liver problems. So they said, we don't want you big and heavy, too much fat. You'll be right back up for another transplant. Well, she talked to me about that months ago. So she said, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to do it? And I go, and the interesting thing was 5 minutes before I talked to my insurance. She said, we're not approving. We're not going to pay for it. I said, well, why aren't you going to pay for it? It's going to make it longer. It's going to save your problem on money. He said, well, we don't have a date. So you understand how this works, right? It's up to the big man upstairs when someone gets called home, and apparently they call someone home. I'm going to get a liver. I don't know if it's today, tomorrow, next day. I don't know.
Right.
And so I knew it was denied, so I thought, well, I don't know if I can swing it, Surgery isn't cheap. especially something like that. And I said, I don't know. They rejected me. And she looked at me and said, "What would you worry about? Nothing. If they don't pay for it, we'll pay for it. You'll have no cost come out of this." That's the kind of place that place is. It's magical. So as we went in, got ready, doctor wheeled me down. They had all kinds of doctors. And I remember it, but I don't remember what he said. He said all he talked about was her. Yeah. My kids. So we got on the table, and I was a faith guy, but I questioned things. I like to see it. This is a piece of paper. I can see that. If you tell me there's something there, right? And so that's kind of my faith was. It was very problematic. So I go in the room. I'm terrified. If you ever been in a surgery room, very cold, big light, right? Very bright. And so there was a team that was going to do my transplant. Once they take my liver out, then they're going to take my stomach out. So they had to have two teams there. It was about 20 people. Yeah. So the lady next to me is going to put me out, and she says, "Okay, we'll start putting you out." I said, "Before we do that, can I talk to everybody?" It sounds weird. It sounds like not a big deal, brother, but I'm laying down. Yeah. They come around, and guys and gals put their hands on my chest. And I said to them, "I need you to work hard for me today." I said, I got a lot to do. They said, "I'm 2 days away from my 20th wedding anniversary." I said, my son was emigrating to play college football. I want to see him play college football. I have 2 daughters. I need to walk down the aisle. I just need to work hard for me. And she was in my ear, and she said, whispered in my ear, "It's okay. You do this every day. You do this every day. You're going to have so many wedding anniversaries. You're going to have so many. You can see your son playing college. You're walking down. Go down that. You're going to live for a long time." And I'm telling you, that room got really warm. Yeah. It was hot. The light got really bright. And I turned to her and I said, "I'm ready." Yeah. And I came through it, but I tell you, looking back on it at that time, man, I don't think God talks to me. Yeah. But He talked through her. Absolutely. And that's what that was. That's what I experienced. I experienced that warmness of like I'm being held. Right. And that light was so bright that I've never seen like that. Yep. Right. And from that point, I knew whether I seen God, whether I talked to Him, that He was there. Yep. And it was His plan. And on the day that we got to go see Grayson's first football game, I sat down in my little portal for Mayo Clinic, and I told him, "I thank you so much." You say, one of my first things I've been able to do besides my anniversaries was to see him play football. Right. And so faith for me has become really important. And I'm like you. I don't know that I go to church. I want to find the right fit, but I know I pray. Yeah. My personal relationship with God is stronger than it ever has been. So when you talk about your faith and what you're doing with these young guys and young people, it's a big deal, man. And talk about your faith and how it's impacted your life as you kind of discover it, right? We talk about, like, I went to the motions. I went to a bunch of different schools, right? Yeah. Or churches. And, just, okay, yeah, I'm here. Mom wants to go. Sean wants to go. Where are you? Whatever. Yeah, hey, hi, how are you? But when it clicked for you, right? Talk a little bit about that. Okay, I get it. It's not just a process. Probably, I don't know. Probably clicked in 01, 02. We were doing small group. Yeah, lots of small groups. Yep. And, we kind of talk around about, hey, remember that one time at, at McCullough's house or Rother's house, and then when it just figured it, it's about more than just you, Brian. It's about more than just you. Yeah. And it was. Yeah. I figured out. I got baptized in the Baptist church, and then 2006 happened, and it just kind of grew from there. Yeah, yeah. And I think, when you talk about these guys who have really impacted your life, I think it's really important that I realize, believe it or not, I was a union guy, so I bargain with employers all the time. So right. I'm not a nice guy at the bargaining table, brother. I have a job to do. I have to protect the guys I represent and the gals I represent. So I end up with an attorney across me, a young guy. He's graying quicker than me, so with all due respect, Michael, you look older, but you're better looking. And he was having a baby at the time. And, of course, we were having our grandson, our first grandson, our only grandson, our only grandchild right now. And, so we hit it off on that. And one of the things that my mentor said, you talk about people like my mentor, Tom Nightwine, who passed, earlier this year, he told me, he said, Jeff, the folks you're dealing with, these employers, aren't your adversaries. They just happen to be in adversarial positions.
Right.
And at first I didn't understand that, right? But now I understand it. And then as I got sick, I had some friends I worked with. Some of them for 30 years never called me. And that's problematic for me, right? But whatever. This guy, this young attorney that I would argue with, sometimes want to punch him right in the nose. Every week he called me. How you doing? We're now best friends. That didn't happen because I just happened to be negotiating contract. It happened because God set things up for him. And so at that time, he lost his father, who meant a ton to him. And this year, it was last year, he said to me, "You remind me a lot of my dad. You give me a lot of advice. Would you go down to spring training with me? My dad always wanted me to have season tickets." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'll pay for everything." I said, "You don't have to pay for everything, but I'll go." We went down there, and I think it was therapeutic for him. I know it was therapeutic for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when you talk about those guys, you have to thank God for placing them in your lives, right? And placing you in a community that you're in now, right? Those things didn't happen because you're Brian Hassett. You're a good coach, great guy.
Thank you.
But it didn't happen because of that. They happened because God put them in your life.
No doubt.
And that's such a thing that I think is important that you've established, I've established. Some people don't like talking about it. I get it. But anytime I can share my story, like you share your story, and I appreciate you opening up today and talking about that. I know you did with Paul, and Paul did a great job. And it's really important that you do that. And I think it's important, you know, I hate to say it, Brian, but you're an older guy now, right?
I hear you, brother.
What advice and insights would you have for young aspiring coaches, both good and bad? Like, hey, these are pitfalls, these are things you need to be aware of. Do you have any thoughts on, use me. I'm a young guy, I want to get in coaching, Brian, Coach Hassett. I'm thinking about interviewing for this job. What advice are you going to give me?
Well, I've given Tanner Benedict a lot of advice. You know, you gotta grind. You gotta trust, and you gotta network. You know, we're on Twitter all the time, and we've seen, you know, we follow the same guys about drill work this and drill work that, and you know, back and forth. And you know, I was fortunate enough for years to be able to delegate authority and trust. You have to do that. He trusts me. I trust him. He's 26 years old. You know, going in with you know, hair on fire. You know. And you gotta love what you're doing. It's different now than it was when I started in '99. You know, it's a different ball game. And I don't mean X's and O's. So, you know, you have to also trust your players. You got to trust your admin. And it's hard to do at times, Jeff. It really is. You know, so, you know, anybody's watching this and, you know, you want to chat, I'll be more than happy to chat about it, you know, but I'm in a great spot. I'm in a great spot right now in my teaching and coaching career. You know, and my family. onceandagain.com. Check it out. You know, my wife owns a retail consignment business. My oldest daughter works for her. You know, I'm blessed and I'm thankful for a lot of things, but you know, you have coach's wife in the dictionary. My wife Tracy's there. You know, it's been that way for a long time.
What year did you get married?
Got married in 92.
Okay, so you're right about the same time as
31 years.
Yeah, about to come up on 31 years this
up
year.
and down, man.
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster. But right now, I think we're on that. We're just starting on that. What's that? American Eagle up at Six Flags. We're on that just start.
Yeah.
We're back here. You know, we've been there and there and there and there.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes you're upside down. Sometimes you're dipping. Right?
We've been there.
Yeah.
So, I'm thankful for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm blessed.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I appreciate you, and we will continue to talk. I know Bob's here, your dad's here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll probably call him Dad.
Yeah.
And don't want to keep you too long because I know you want to spend time with him. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Like I said, I've known you from afar, but I've always thought, hey, I'd like to get to know this guy, and this gave me that opportunity to do that.
I appreciate it, man. I enjoyed it.
I appreciate you coming up. I know you're coming up to see Dad, but it's right before a holiday. I appreciate you coming in my house, and taking the time for us. And I'm glad that we could get him here. He seems to be having a good time talking to Charlotte.
Yeah,
and Charlotte's easy to talk to. It's very, 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 very good that we have elder folks. My parents have passed, but it's always important to have them here talking, engaging, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure for him to get out, do some stuff,
for
spend some time with you today.
That's
Looks
right.
like it's going to be a beautiful day today.
Yes, sir.
But I appreciate you taking the time to come here, man. I do. And while we're not friends, I hope this starts a relationship.
Absolutely.
I can check in with you, maybe run over some night and
come over and check out
the game, right?
The Titans sometime.
Check out
this
the
fall.
Titans. How's that going? Good?
Good. We're going to be all right.
We're going to be all right.
I'll leave it at that. We'll be all right.
All right. Well, that's good. I'll be checking on you and saying, hey, what's
Appreciate
going on,
it.
Brian?
I thank you for having me open your home to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. And you're my first interview in person. Everybody else does Zoom and stuff. So I appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely.
And I'll have some editing to do after this,
Sure.
man. Try to go back and forth a little bit. You'll see your face, see my face.
Yes, sir.
Your face is better looking than my face, so
I wouldn't go there.
we'll concentrate a lot on you, but I think it's going to be important. We're going to get that out. We'll do it on Twitter,
Yep.
Facebook, push it to Instagram as well, right?
Okay.
I don't follow you yet, but I was checking out your Twitter. I too I've got my County Pulse podcast, but also now I have my personal one.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff I'm dealing with, and I may call you on stuff.
That sounds
some
good.
of these young guys that I deal with, and sometimes young girls. I got a couple young girl, Mantino, I think is going to be a D1 athlete. Scott and Brittany Milo.
Yeah.
Their daughter, she's a stud.
Yeah,
right? And
for
so
sure.
I'm helping her. Unfortunately, she just broke her hand in a game. So
That's all right.
but you know what? She'll get over that. you know?
Yeah.
So other than that, we're done, man. So
Okay.
I appreciate you, man. I really do.
Absolutely.